Hello, and welcome to Allie and Sweatpants. My name is Allie, and I am wearing sweatpants. Today is going to be my What I Knit in March episode. So, if you're new here, a very warm welcome to you, and if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm so glad that you chose to come back. Let's just get into it, shall we? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the sweater that I'm wearing. This was a finished object in my last video, and it's my Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit. And I wore it for pretty much, oh God, there's a squirrel in the tree right outside the window, and Simon hates them. So let's just hope he sleeps and doesn't see it. So yes, as I was saying, I wore this sweater for most of the month of March. Not all day, but morning and evening certainly, if not all day, because I wanted to wear it really hard to show you guys how the yarn holds up. So here it is. The camera's at like a weird up angle today, so I'm gonna try to show you. But there's really, no real signs of pilling. There's some, there's some little pills here and there, but maybe you can see here on the sleeve. I don't know if you can see that, but so there are certainly a few, but it is so minimal. And I don't know if that's because of the texture of the Ingrid sweater. I'm not quite sure yet, but so far so good with this yarn. This is the Ice Yarns recycled wool, which I love, in the burgundy colorway. And this is the first project in this yarn that I have worn. So I was really curious to see, because in the ball it's very soft and it's very squishy and lofty and wonderful. And so I was wondering what the pilling situation would be. But zero complaints so far. So let's get into finished objects from this month. The first one you have actually seen last month. It is my Versal by Albina McLaughlin. And all I did to this was I lengthened it. So I don't know if you can see, but right about here was where the ribbing initially started, and it was just too cropped. It had already been blocked and it was still too cropped. So I needed to add just a bit of extra length. So I added like a little over an inch, 2.5 centimeters maybe. And then I redid the ribbing. I only added 12 grams of yarn, and it got me all the extra length that I wanted. This weighs 299 grams, which is funny. This weighs 399 grams, and this weighs 299 grams. And as I said before, the Ice Yarns come in packs. So this particular, the recycled wool, comes in a pack of 400-gram balls. So this one literally just barely made it. And this one I have a whole untouched ball. So yeah, as I said, this is the Versal by Albina McLaughlin. This colorway is their khaki colorway, but to me it reads very grayish, like brown leaning gray. And I think it's just going to be lovely. I do want to mention something about the Versal sweater. I've knit it many times. I think I've knit it 5 or 6 times. I really, really enjoy the pattern, but I find that the yoke is pretty deep. The arms are tighter than I would prefer. I really like a roomy arm. I have proportionately just kind of bigger upper arms. And so I really, really like extra room. I don't know, there's something about the proportions of this sweater that always throw me off a little bit, but clearly not enough to stop making it. So I don't know, I would be interested if any of you guys have made the Versal pattern, what you think about the fit, because part of me thinks like the yoke is a bit too deep, the sleeves are a bit too tight, and then the body is proportionately a bit tighter than the yoke, but maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I need to try it on again before I say all this stuff. So the other thing that I did is my new favorite thing, and I added 7 sets of short rows just to the back of the sweater. I am loving this. I have always had the gripe with sweaters of if it's the perfect length in the front, it's too short in the back, and if it's the perfect length in the back, it's too long in the front. I'm very squat. So if things are just like a little bit too long in the front, they're way too long in the front pretty much. I don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to length variation, but these extra short rows just before the ribbing in the back are like changing my life. So yeah, that is my Versal. I knit the 5th size, and I used 0.5 millimeter smaller than recommended in the pattern just because I thought the gauge would fit the yarn better. And I did the crew neck option, I did no body shaping, and I think I did the straight sleeves. Yeah, I usually do the straight sleeves because, like I said, I don't find that they have too much positive ease. So that is my Versal. I need to reblock it because of that, ribbing situation, but now that I'm recording this, this is going to be the sweater that I wear hard for this next month to try to give you guys a report back on the yarn in a stockinette sweater versus a textured sweater. My next project is finished, question mark. The knitting is finished, but it is not finished. Let me make her look pretty. And it is my Moreland cardigan. So this is a really beautiful steeked cardigan. Let me try to show you so this is really the draw of the pattern to me, is this beautiful texture that goes down the top of the sleeves. I talked about this before, but my gauge is so off for this pattern. If you look at the sample photos, I truly probably have 4 times the amount of leaves as I'm supposed to. So it's pretty heavily modified for that reason, and I do worry slightly about how this neckline is going to fit. When I put it on like a sweater, this neckline is tight and it is high. I'm hoping once I, cut it and it becomes a true cardigan, that sort of opens and relaxes a little bit. Please let me know if that is your experience with steeked cardigans. But yes, I was all ready to steek. And then I read the instructions and I looked up a tutorial, and the button bands were already knit in the tutorial, and I was like, oh, I don't know why, but I just assumed that all of that was done after you steeked it. But no, in the pattern, the designer even recommends to do it before you steek it. So I have done that. The button bands are in, the neckline is in, and yeah, I just have to steek it. I really want to do the crochet method because in my head, it seems very sturdy because I still haven't looked up a tutorial, but you like pick up all the stitches and secure them. But I was looking at a different steeked pattern yesterday, And someone was asking the designer if they could replace the machine reinforcement for a crochet reinforcement. And the designer basically said, like, yes, of course you can, but I don't know if you should, because if the yarn is slippery, it can slip through a crochet reinforcement. So, I don't know. I do think that the pattern recommends a machine reinforcement. I don't know why. This is like a me thing. But the idea of sewing thread in my knitted garment, like, grosses me out. And I don't know why, and I don't know how to further explain that feeling. But the idea of it just, like, makes me not feel so good. So I'm really hoping I can do the crochet method. If not, I will just do the machine reinforced method. But yeah, if you have any tips, tricks, suggestions, info, would love to hear it. Again, this is the Ice Yarns recycled wool. The color is not coming out very true. The sun is that side of the house. There is no direct sun this side of the house, and the clouds are kind of coming in and out. So we're doing what we can, but it's much more orange in real life. It's definitely not like orange, but it is orange. And I think it's called like their salmon color or something, but I would definitely call it like an orange sherbet type color. And it has, let me see if I can get it in this time. Can you see how many different colors are in this specific? It's very, very beautiful. It's very beautiful. If I can get a good representation of it, I'll try to include a photo so you can really see the color variation and the color. But yes, this is my Moorland cardigan. I think I was knitting the 4th or 5th size, and it's not true to pattern. I mean, I had to do so many more increases on the yoke. So, yeah. Oops. My mom's calling. 1 minute. Okay, we're back. So the last thing I wanted to say about the Moorland cardigan is that it weighs 360 grams. I don't know if that's interesting to anyone. It's pretty interesting to me. And on Ravelry, which is really cool, I have been putting in how much the garments weigh, and then it auto-calculates how many balls of this specific yarn, or whatever specific yarn you're using, how many balls of it that takes. So it might be like 3.1, 4.6, whatever. And then it shows you the exact meterage that you've used, and you can input what you paid for the yarn. And so you have all this really cool information. Anyway, that's my Moorland cardigan. Then my last finished garment of the month was a pretty long-term whip. Not as long-term as the first version of this that I made, which took me, I think, over a year. But it is the Cumulus tee for my mom. It's all done, which is very exciting. So this is a pattern by Petite Knit, and it is a fingering weight V-neck t-shirt pattern. I made the 5th size, and I used Knitting for Olive merino in, I'm pretty sure it's called the denim blue colorway, which my mom handpicked at a local yarn store. I did have to order more yarn, and quite literally, so let me see here. This weighs 232 grams. And I think every single ball was a different dye lot, and I was very, very worried about it, but as you can see, I think I got away with it. So I have made just a couple modifications to this garment. So I did not do, though it looks like it, I did not do the extra short rows at the bottom. But what I do change is it calls for I-cord finishes, and I did that on her first version, and I could not get them to look nice. They would all roll, or they would be way too tight. So what I do instead is a rolled stockinette finish. And it actually works better on plant yarn than it does on this wool. But what I do is I do 1 round of purl, and then I do my stockinette roll. And what I find is typically that purl round will stop the stockinette from just endlessly rolling. Now, that was not true pre-blocking. Pre-blocking, it was just rolling and rolling and rolling. But since blocking, it has really helped it kind of stay in place. I haven't blocked the whole thing. I just blocked the body before I did the sleeves. Why did I do that? I think I just wanted to make sure that that would stop rolling. But so I do that finishing on the sleeves as well. And for the sleeves, I decided to add a few decreases this time. I think I did, let's count, shall we? I did 5 sets of decreases down the sleeve. And they were about 2 centimeters apart. And then for the neckline, I picked up every other stitch and I did, again, a rolled stockinette finish. So yeah, this was my first time working with Knitting for Olive. I do have quite a bit of Knitting for Olive, but I haven't used it yet. And it's lovely. It's really, really nice. It's not like Drops Daisy is 100% merino, and that is like so soft, like pills up the wazoo, feels like butter soft. This is very soft, but it's toothier than that in a really nice way. So I hope that my mom likes it. She tends to get warm very easily. She doesn't get cold very easily, but I'm hoping people talk about the temperature regulating properties of merino. So I'm really hoping that this will be a comfortable garment for her. I am not a V-neck person. I'm very much a crew neck person. But I tried this on and I was like, uh-oh, am I gonna need one of those? I don't know how I feel about raglan t-shirts. When I see raglan, I think sweater. Like, we don't see commercial sewn t-shirts with a raglan. They're always either like a cap sleeve or a drop shoulder. And so I don't know, but both times I've made this and tried it on, I'm like, that's really nice. So we'll see. But yeah, it's knit on 3mm needles. You shape the neck flat, which is a pain in the petard, let me tell you. Once you hit knitting in the round, it's like, I've made it, nothing can touch me. So yeah. She wears her first one all the time though, so I hope she gets as much use out of this one. Now, I have quite a few socks to talk about. Take a breath, take a breath. So the first pair of socks that I finished are these, hello lighting? Are we okay? All right, well, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Are these Zauberball? Wow, we're really getting washed out here. Oh, look at Simon. Are these Zauberball socks. Chris bought me this ball of yarn when we were in Loop, London. I don't have the tag anymore, I'm sorry. It might be like light spring or something like that if you look online, but so these are for me. I knit all of my socks for myself on 2.5mm needles, and I use 56 stitches, and that works well for me. I did a 2x2 cuff on this one and a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And then I knit myself another pair of socks, and this doubles as an acquisition. No, this lighting. Is this a touchscreen? Oh, it is. Oh no. Oh, I've messed something up. Oh, what do you mean tracking canceled? What does that mean? Hold on. Remind me not to touch the screen ever again. Let's see if we can get a good... That's okay. So this is an acquisition. Legacy Fiber Arts was doing a one-of-a-kind skein spring sale. And this was one of their one-of-a-kind colorways. I call them my pink lemonade socks. It's so pretty. I would say they mostly feel like kind of a yellow-based yarn with pink and darker yellow speckles. They're not as white as that, but yeah, they're super cute. Again, 2.5 millimeter needles, 56 stitches. I did another 2x2 cuff just because I find it looks so much neater than my 1x1 cuffs. And then I did another heel flap and gusset. So that's those. And then I finished my Drops Fiesta socks. And this colorway is just so pretty. So again, it's getting blown out, but it's just a nice kind of, in the best possible way, muddied mix of colors. I can't remember. I think that this might be called... No, I can't remember, sorry, but it's very identifiable on the Drops website. Unicorn something, party something, I'm not sure. But my friend Sarah, who has her own YouTube channel, knit a sweater out of this colorway. And every time I see it, I'm like, I want that so bad. And then I put it in my cart and I just like haven't done it yet. But one day I want to copy her exact sweater. It has white or cream ribbing and this as the main sweater color, and it just looks, it's perfection. It's perfection. So this is Drops Fiesta, which is a DK weight sock yarn, and so I knit these on 3.25 millimeter needles with 48 stitches. I am fairly certain I did a 1x1 cuff and a 7x1 chunky rib with a heel flap and gusset. And usually with my DK weight socks, so for my fingering weight socks, I will make the leg 10 centimeters before the heel. And typically what I like to do with my DK weight socks is 11 or 12 centimeters before the heel, because I figure if I'm wearing thicker socks, it's probably colder. So I'll probably want a little bit more coverage on the leg. So yes. Alrighty, last pair of socks are a pair for my boyfriend. And this is, I'm just looking up the color. This is the West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply in the pheasant colorway, which is just a really fun, stripy sock yarn. This is, I think, a blue-faced Leicester mixed sock yarn. I am not 100% sure that this is superwash wool, by the way. I do wash our West Yorkshire Spinner socks in the washing machine and I do dry them, but they do kind of felt. So I don't know, but they wear really well. I have had to repair a pair of Chris's that I made a while ago, but he wears socks in the toes of all of his, what did I say? He wears holes in the toes of all of his socks. So for Chris's socks, I always do 60 stitches on 2.5 millimeter needles. I did a 2x2 cuff. I did not do a slip stitch heel just because sometimes it's nice to have this really clean heel. A baby. And something that I really like to do for self-striping or self-patterning socks is for the heel, I like to pull from the opposite end of the ball. So if I'm pulling from the outside for the heel, I like to pull from the inside. If I'm pulling from the inside for the heel, I like to pull from the outside. That way it doesn't interrupt the sock striping quite as much as if you just knit it with the same strand. And then the other thing that I have been doing for Chris's socks, just to see if it helps them last a little bit longer, is I have been doing a rounded toe. It's kind of hard to show. I had never done it before, but then I made him four pairs of socks for Christmas Advent. And I decided to try some rounded toes just because truly with the traditional wedge toe, he has worn a hole through every single pair just about, and only in those wedge decreases. So I'm really, really hoping that this style of toe helps his socks last longer, because we do wear our hand knit socks every single day. Even in the summer, we wear hand knit socks in the house. So when I make them, they get worn. And that leads us into works in progress. Oh, Simon, you're laying on it. Excuse me. Okay, well, it's wrapped around his arm, but. So I started a pair of socks for myself. This is the veganyarn.com sock base, which is a mix of organic cotton, tencel, and elastic. And I started it in this really, really beautiful blue colorway. It's not quite as bright as it's showing on camera. It's a little bit more muted than that, but I have stalled on these. I have not worked on them in quite a few weeks now. And that is because I was working on a different pair of socks in this same yarn for a really dear family friend, which will be featured in my April video because I finished them in April. But this yarn can tend to be a bit tougher on my hands than wool sock yarn. And I think one reason for that is it's a bit thicker. This is, I think, like 360 yards per 100 grams or something like that. So it's a bit of a thicker sock yarn. And also I find yarns with elastic like a bit more challenging to manage tension wise. So I think it's just a mix of tight gauge and really kind of pulling on it with my hands when I tension the yarn. But the finished product of these socks is amazing. They are just the softest, squishiest socks. They are cool to the touch when you first put them on, but they warm up just like wool socks do. We do not find our cotton socks to be less warm than our wool socks. But yeah, so 2.5 millimeter needles, 56 stitches. We'll see when these get finished. And then my last work in progress is a little bit of a tricky one because I've worked on it a lot since the end of March. So just work with me. But it is going to be a sweater for my boyfriend, Chris. And maybe we'll just hold it kind of like that. So it does have a finished sleeve. I am working on the other sleeve. But by the end of March, it was probably closer to like that. I think I like just split for sleeves by the end of March. And this is the Cinema Sweater by Kutovakika. And I have already made a modification and I've done 2x2 ribbing because when it's a double raglan stitch, I really like for it to run from 2x2 ribbing as opposed to 1x1 ribbing. I don't know, it's just a personal thing. So I did kind of have to fudge the numbers a little bit to get the raglans to align with the 2x2 ribbing, but it's worked out fine. And then I have also kind of modified the sleeve decreases. So I've added quite a few more than it calls for. I knit 10 centimeters with no decreases, and then I did 10 sets of decreases before the cuff, and again about an inch apart. I keep doing this because this is about an inch or like 2.5 centimeters, and so I literally just take my finger and like measure from the last decrease point. So yeah, this again is in Ice Yarns recycled wool in their green colorway. It's a really hard green to picture. It just sort of comes out looking charcoal, but in real life it is like a, I want to say swampy green. It's a very dark, very earthy, cool leaning green, and it has tweed specks, if you can see, of like red and blue and white. And yeah, I'm just working away on this. It's a pleasure to work on. The yarn, of course, is lovely. I wish at this point I was getting paid to talk about this yarn, but I am not. I just love it. So yes. Then I have a couple acquisitions. So like I said when I showed my pair of socks, one of those was an acquisition from the Legacy Fiber Arts One of a Kind spring sale. And I just couldn't help myself. There were so many beautiful skeins. I am a sucker for one of a kind hand-dyed skeins. I don't know why, but I am a firm believer that they are the most beautiful colorways that hand dyers come out with. And it's such a shame that they're one of a kind and they don't often know how to recreate the color, because all of my favorite hand-dyed colorways have been like oopsie skeins or one of a kind skeins. So this is another one that I got from the sale. It's very, very, very beautiful. I think they have a colorway called tie-dye or something like that. And I have a feeling that this was an oopsie skein for their tie-dye colorway, which I have been wanting for like at least a year. So I could not pass up this skein. And then I got 3 sock sets. One of them I'm not going to show because they will be a gift given in next month. So you will see them in my April video. But I got, this is another one of a kind skein. And it's very pretty. It's very pastel, very subtle with this yellow mini skein. And these are their micro sock sets. So this is a 70 gram sock set where the main color is 50 grams and then there's a 20 gram mini. And you can get up to a US women's size 9 or 9.5 with one of these sock sets if you make sure you use the contrasting color. I have never run out of yarn knitting socks with this micro set, and they're much more affordable than a full 100 gram skein or sock set. So, and you have less leftover yarn at the end. So, I don't know, something to keep in mind if you're interested. And then last year they did an entire Schitt's Creek mystery yarn club. And they had their micro sock sets and they were selling their kind of excess skeins that didn't sell over last year. And last year I hadn't seen Schitt's Creek, and then this year Chris and I watched it and we totally fell in love with it. It's such a good show and it just gets better and better each season, which I think is a rarity in shows. Usually they kind of go downhill, and this one just got better and better. So I looked through the Schitt's Creek colorways, and this one is David, Fold in the Cheese. And it's very pretty. It's, oh, is that gonna help? The old YouTube trick comes through, guys. It's very pretty. It's light pinks and blues and white, and if you know me, I love a pink and blue into purple mixed yarn. It is just so good. And this is, I mean, it's truly one of the most iconic Schitt's Creek scenes, I think, when they're trying to figure out what fold in the cheese means when they're cooking. It's so funny. So, yeah. That was my last acquisition. I am now remembering that I almost said last month, I promised to show you the woolly knit cones that I got in England, so let me go get them. Okay, got the cones, but I had to play the game of, is this drywall dust or is this the forbidden yarn enemy? I think I've come to the conclusion that it's yarn or it's drywall dust. Somebody please let me know if moth remnants are sticky or dusty, or if they wipe away easily or not. Okay. We move on and we hope for the best. So I got 5 cones from Woolly Knit, and I pre-ordered them to my friend Jade's house, which was very nice. We stayed with her when we were in England, and the shipping to her house was much more affordable than to California, and she was very nice. She held onto them for me for a couple of months. So yeah, let's just get started. This is one of the cones that I ordered. So all of these are the British wool 4-ply yarn. And this is the Cotswold Brown colorway. Let's see if we can get an accurate. Are we going to do it again? We're going to do it again. Hello? Oh yeah, there we go. There's a reason they all did it. So it's just a very nice, warm, tiny bit warmer than it's showing up, brown color. And then I ordered, this colorway is called Derby Tweed, and I think this one is so fun. Hello. Hello. Where do I hold it? So this is a marl of green and brown and gray. And isn't it so cool? I'm very excited to work with this one. And then I got, which is the one that had the dust on it. Look, it wiped off really easily. Nothing was sticky. And I do have them on top of a cabinet that has like a lip. And when we had our electrical redone, the guys just cut the drywall and didn't vacuum any of it up off of the shelves or anything. So like behind my bookcase, behind all my books, is a bunch of drywall dust. And so I assume on top of that thingy is also drywall dust. That's what we're gonna hope for. Now I'm like very paranoid. It wasn't sticky. I'm not seeing. How to know? Anyway, I got this burgundy red. As you can see, I've always been a burgundy girl. Red has been my favorite color since I knew what a favorite color was, but I'm just always wanting to buy burgundy yarn, and for whatever reason in my head, I'm like, I don't have any burgundy sweaters. This is my second. I already have a burgundy sweater. This is my second one. And I got another burgundy yarn. And she's beautiful. And then, most beautifully, in my opinion, I ordered the Rainbow Nep cone, which looks like a creamy undyed base with all of these rainbow tweed bits. And I love her. I cannot wait to knit something up in this one. And then lastly, I ordered a 200-gram hank because my plan was, because I only travel with carry-on luggage. It's just who I am. So I had to fit all of my clothing for 2 weeks along with all of my souvenirs in my backpack and my personal item duffel bag. So my plan, I was going to order 4 cones and then I was going to shove a 200-gram hank in the cones to save on room. And I think I told this story in my last video, but when Jade sent me the photo of my order, there were 5 cones. And I was like, there's supposed to be 4 cones in a 200-gram hank. And she was like, well, you got lucky. There's 5 cones. And I was just like, please let that fit in my hand luggage. It did easily fit in my bag. There was nothing to worry about. But what I ordered is a 200-gram cone, or hank, and I got as a 500-gram cone, is the Skiddaw Nep colorway. So this is a marled cream and tanny beige yarn with black and brown neps in it. And it's very beautiful. This is the neutral color I was using for my sheep sweater, which, by the way, thank you so much to the person who commented, why don't you use thicker yarn and thicker needles and just make size 2? Yeah, why don't I? It's stuff like that where it's like, it's such an obvious solution, but for whatever reason in my head, I was married to making that pattern with that yarn, and that pattern could not be made with anything else. And then I saw that comment and I was like, they're a genius. Why didn't I think of that? So thank you so much, because that is exactly what I will be doing. But the version that I will be frogging, I was making the sheep out of this colorway. So yes, that is everything I have to talk about this month. I hope that you're well. I hope that you're knitting on things that are making you happy. I hope that spring is springing where you are. We have had horrific heat waves, to be quite frank, in the 90 degree range. We are due for some rain this Sunday, which I am very excited for, and we are looking like we're going back into the mid 60s, low 70s, which thank goodness, because the summers here are hot and dry and they are brutal and they are relentless. And so having them start in March is just not acceptable. So, oh, Chris and I did make one more thing, which is housing the sock project you will see next video. We made a basket. So this is from a website that sells kits. I will link them. This is the second basket we've made. Here's the first one. And here's the second one. Clearly we have improved ever so slightly. But yes, they're sold as kits, and I want to say it was fun to make. In fact, Chris and I were fairly stressed and snippy with each other the whole time. And Chris did majority of the making, but I love it now. And I feel so whimsical walking around the house with my little sock project basket. So yes, we did that, and we also built a bench. Photo here. So yes, I hope that you are well. I hope that this brings a little bit of lightness into the absolute shit show that's going on right now. And yeah, I'm sending you my good vibes. I'd love to know what you were working on. I am very nosy. And like I said in my last video, the only reason I make these videos is to chit chat with you guys in the comments and have that sense of community. So please drop me a little comment. I'd love to talk to you, and I will be back when I have more to talk about. Bye.